الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد. In our previous class, we were reading what the author he mentioned, rahimahullah ta'ala, with regards to the encouragement to strive one's best to seek knowledge and to preoccupy oneself with that at all times, and to be dedicated to knowledge, and to try to spend one's life and every moment benefiting with knowledge and learning and reviewing and teaching and the likes in this manner. This was the advice that had preceded. Now he says, rahimahullah ta'ala, يقال أجود أوقات الحفظ الأسحار ثم الغداة وحفظ الليل أنفع من حفظ النهار لفراغ البال وهدوء الحركة ووقت الجوع أنفع من وقت الشبع. He says, وأجود أماكن الحفظ الغرف وكل موضع بعد عن الملهيات وكل موضع بعد عن الملهيات. He says, so now the best time for memorizing are the morning times before Fajr. And after mentioning the encouragement to preoccupy oneself and to busy oneself with knowledge, now he mentions the foundation of that, and that is the issue of memorizing. The issue of memorizing, al-hifz, and the Islamic knowledge, the knowledge of the religion of Allah Azza wa Jalla, it is memorized. It is memorized. The Quran is memorized by heart and carried in the breasts of men and transmitted in this manner. And likewise the Sunan of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam as well is memorized. It's memorized and carried in the hearts of men and transmitted in this manner. It's preserved and transmitted in this manner. The Quran and the Sunnah and the madhahib of the Sahaba and the scholars of Hadith is preserved and maintained in this manner in the hearts of men. بل هو آيات بينات في صدور الذين أوتوا العلم. Rather, the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that it is clear verses. بل هو آيات بينات, clear verses, في صدور الذين أوتوا العلم, in the breast of those who have been given knowledge. So the issue of memorizing with regards to the student of knowledge is a very important issue, and it's a foundation and a fundamental. And it is a foundation and a fundamental with regards to learning properly. And that which one memorizes will benefit him so long as he's alive. And that which is in his mind and his heart, this is his true knowledge. The knowledge that he carries with him wherever he may be, this is the knowledge that will truly benefit him. This is the knowledge that will truly benefit him. It's been narrated from Al-Shafi'i rahimahullah that he would say, علمي مائي حيثما يممت ينفعني بطني وعاء له لا بطن الصندوق إن كنت في البيت كان العلم فيه معي أو كنت في السوق كان العلم في السوق. That he mentioned rahimahullah ta'ala that my knowledge is with me. Wherever I go it benefits me. And this is the case with knowledge. علمي معي حيثما يممت يعني أينما ذهبت. Wherever I go it's with me. ينفعني, it benefits me. The knowledge that one memorized, he will benefit from that. That's the true knowledge that he possesses and that he has. And whenever he needs it, it's with him. As for the knowledge in the books, there no doubt this is beneficial, but it may not benefit him whenever he needs it. And he will not always have his book or his notebook with him. As for the knowledge that is memorized in his heart and that he carries with him, then this is the knowledge that truly benefits him. That truly benefits a student and a Muslim in general. He says, قَلْبِي وِعَاءٌ لَهُ لَا بَطْنُ الصُّندُوقِ. That my heart is carrying it. Yani my heart is the wi'a, is the vessel that contains it, not yani in the drawers or in the books and the likes like this. He says, إن كنت في البيت كان العلم فيه معي. If I'm in the house, then my knowledge is with me in the house. وإن كنت في السوق كان العلم في السوق. And if I'm in the market, then my knowledge is in the market. So this is the true knowledge of a person. The knowledge that a person has is the knowledge that he memorized. the knowledge that he carries with him wherever he goes. So therefore, it's of utmost importance to learn about memorizing and how to memorize. And now this is the issue the author here is discussing, specifically about the best times and circumstances for memorizing. And likewise, there will be a discussion, inshallah, to come, the author he will refer to, with regards to what to memorize and how to memorize, and eat first, and the likes like this, and this is also of utmost importance. So now the issue of memorizing, and when is the best time for that? This is what he's discussing. أجود أوقات الحفظ الأسحار. He said the best times for memorizing are the ashar. The ashar is in the mornings before Fajr. The last hour or so before Fajr, this is the best time. He says ثم الغداة, and then the morning time, meaning after Fajr. And then he says وحفظ الليل أنفع من حفظ النهار, and memorizing at night time is more beneficial than memorizing in the daytime. And he mentioned why. لفراغ البال, because the mind is empty at this time. His mind and his thoughts are empty at this time. He's not preoccupied with the business of the day and the distractions of the day and the things that one will be preoccupied with from livelihood and the affairs that are going on during the daytime, with the people coming and going and moving about. So at nighttime, the people, they calm down and they go inside in general. So therefore, likewise, his mind will calm down as well. So he says, وَحُدُوء الْحَرَكَةِ, and the calming of the movements, meaning there's less movement and less things going on at nighttime. So this is a great point here, that he's referring to, because in reality, this issue goes back to the individual, and to be more clear about the circumstance. It's not an absolute understanding. This is something that was no doubt clearly apparent in their times, but it could change from person to person according to his own personal schedule and that which is most beneficial for him. So the points to learn from this, he says لِفَرَاغِ الْبَالِ, and so this is the reason why these times were chosen, so that whenever the mind is empty and that the heart is empty and ready to focus, وَهُدُوء الْحَرَكَةِ, and whenever there is less movement going on. So this is something that he will look for whenever he's going to memorize. He will want to be in a time where his mind is empty and he is not thinking or preoccupied with the affairs of the worldly life or any other issue. Whenever his mind and his heart is empty, ready to focus and take care and show concern for what he is advancing upon, and that is memorizing the text that is in front of him. So he wants his heart to be empty. And likewise, he does not want to have lots of movement going on around him, as well as sounds and noises and the likes like this. He wants to lessen this or lighten this or remove it entirely if he can. Then he says, وَوَقْتُ الْجُوعِ أَنْفَعُ مِنْ وَقْتِ الشِّبَعِ. That is the times whenever memorizing whenever he's hungry is better than memorizing whenever he's full. Better than memorizing whenever he's full. So whenever the stomach is empty and the likes, this time is better than whenever the stomach is full. And he meaning, for example, he will not choose the times for memorizing to be right after he eats, because many times right after a person eats, then his stomach and his body will be preoccupied with this affair, and the blood will go to his stomach, so on and so forth, and he sometimes becomes lazy, or he's not able to think as fast and quickly, and the likes of these times. So whenever he's in a state of al-ju', not necessarily starving. It's not saying that he will be starving, but he will not try to set his times for memorizing after he had just eaten. It will be at a time whenever his stomach is empty, but it wouldn't be in a time whenever he's desiring food or in need of food, because this likewise would disturb him. And the point is here that he will not eat a great meal right before he intends to memorize. And again, this is not something that is forbidden or something that's in an absolute sense, but for a person, if he was to ask, when is the best time I should look at and set on my schedule for when I should memorize? So now these points here, this is what he will look at. And the time whenever his mind is most clear and he's able to free his heart up and to not think about distractions and disturbances and other affairs of the worldly life. And likewise, whenever the movement around him is fewer and lesser, and the noises as well. And also a time whenever he's not desiring food or not too full and the likes like this. So this is something that he will look into with regards to arranging the times that he needs for memorizing. Now he talks about the places. He says, وَأَجْوَدُ أَمَاكِنِ الْحِفْظِ الْغُرَفِ. And the best places for memorizing are the rooms. وَكُلُّ مَوْضِعٍ بَعُودَ عَنِ الْمُلْهِيَاتِ. And every place that is far away from distractions and disturbances. And every place that is far away from distractions and disturbances. So here he's mentioning the best place to memorize. The best places to memorize are, he says, al-ghuraf, the rooms. And in the previous days, the rooms or the dorms that the students, they would have, that would be made for them, they were very small. And that was on purpose, in order for the room to be small and to not have any distractions. And they would be able to sit there without any concerns or any worries and memorize properly. So this is something likewise that one he will look for, that the place will be empty of distractions, even if it's a small room, and not in a manner that's going to be small where it would be a hardship on him or be too tight on him and the likes like this, but an area that is small and that is free of distractions, free of colors and free of designs and free of other things that would distract his mind. Sometimes maybe whenever he wants to memorize, he will, for example, face the wall. He will face the wall or face a pillar, and he out of sight of the people. That way his eyes are not moving around, because what one looks at also distracts him and also has an effect on what he's thinking and the likes like this. So if he controls his eyesight and he looks and focuses on the memorization and he doesn't see in front of him lots of disturbances, this would be best for him and most preferred and beneficial for him to memorize quickly and strongly and properly. So this is what he's intending here. أجود أماكن الحفظ الغرف, the rooms, and this is the reason for that. So likewise, any other place that would be similar like this, as he says, وكل موضع بعد عن الملهيات, and every place that will be far from the distractions, far from the distractions. From those distractions that we have today are these phones. So a person, he will not want to memorize in the likes like this whenever his phone is on or his phone is close to him. Maybe he will lose his attention quickly. He will get one message or another message, or it would ring, or the likes like this, or he will reach over and open it and check, and there will be a message here or an alert there, and the likes like this. All of this would disturb him and detour him and delay him. So the point now is, at the time of memorizing the new text or the new portion of the Quran or of the Hadith or of the principles or the rulings or of the metin, the text, whatever the issue is he's trying to memorize, that he will choose the proper and the best times for that, and likewise the best places that will be furthest away from distractions and from disturbances. Now he says, وَلَا يُحْمَدُ الْحِفْظُ بِحَضْرَةِ النَّبَاتِ وَالْخَضْرَةِ وَالْأَنْهَارِ وقوارع الطرق لأنها تمنع غالبا خلو القلب. And likewise, it's not praiseworthy to memorize in the presence of plants, greenery and the likes like this, and the plants and greenery and rivers and in the pathways where the people are going about, because many times this will prohibit the heart from being empty and being freed from distractions. So like this is mentioned. Al-Khatib, he mentioned this likewise, rahimahullah ta'ala, in his book Al-Jami', that it's not recommended to go out into the scenery and out into the beautiful environment and to sit in front of the rivers or to sit in front of the greenery or in the pastures or in the gardens where there's a beautiful scenery, lots of trees and greenery and lots of flowers and the likes like this, because this will no doubt distract the person. He will look over here and see this beautiful these beautiful flowers, and over here the sky and the clouds, and then maybe some birds will come or another animal will go by, and he'll be amazed and in wonder at the creation of Allah Azza wa Jal and the likes like this, and this will all distract him from his goal. So he did not come for the purpose of relaxing and enjoying the view. Rather, he came in order to focus and to memorize. So whenever he's going to do that, he will go to the place that is most beneficial for him. Because from the manners of a student of knowledge specifically, and a Muslim in general, is he does not like to waste time. Time is not something that he will waste. So he will be engaged in the best manner possible. And from that is to choose the proper place and the proper time that's most beneficial for him. So this here is in general, in the end of the night time, before the Fajr. And in the morning time, likewise, after Fajr, many times before the rising of the sun, yani before the shuruq, after Fajr, before the shuruq. The people of knowledge, they mention likewise, this is a recommended time. And then after that, and he says here that the night times are better than the day times. And again, this is all yani in general, all in general. And this is because generally at these specific times, for example, in the ashar, before the Fajr, the people are sleeping. The majority of the people are sleeping and everything's calm. There's not any distractions. And plus, he does not have any needs generally that he has to take care of at this time. So he's freed up from many aspects. From those around him, if he has a family, they're sleeping or they're resting. And the people on the streets, they're not going about generally in the same manner. And he does not have any requirements to fulfill at the likes of these times. So now he can focus on memorizing. Focus on memorizing. Likewise, after Fajr, in the same manner, normally the heart will be empty and the heart will be free from distractions. And the people likewise, in the time likewise, many times will be calmer, and especially if he chooses the proper place and the likes like this. In any case, what one will look at is the time whenever his heart is most empty and ready to memorize, and he will select these particular times for memorizing. So another benefit that we get from this is that a person, he will look in his life and in his schedule, and he will place in his daily schedule a time for memorizing. So a student of knowledge, he has times in his day that are devoted for memorizing. So these are the general times. That are recommended, but a person, he will look at what's most beneficial for him. And if somebody maybe has a different type of schedule, so those times may not be suitable for a specific individual. So he will not say, oh, I'm not free at that time, so I cannot memorize. That's not what is intended. These are not the only times, but rather these are some of the best times because of the reasons mentioned. But the times could change for individuals, and those reasons mentioned could be found for him in other times, and because of his circumstance or his situation. So a student of knowledge, he's memorizing. He has time for this. This is a part of his life. He's memorizing the Arabic language. He's memorizing the principles in the Arabic language. Or before that, even if he's a non-Arab, when he doesn't speak the Arabic language, he's memorizing the alphabet. And then after that, he's memorizing vocabulary words. Then after that, he's memorizing principles. Maybe he's memorizing expressions and memorizing sentences in order to understand and comprehend. And whatever the lesson is at hand, and he's memorizing the homework, whatever was written on the board, he's memorizing that. If he moves on further, then he will start memorizing principles in the grammar, or memorizing principles in the scales, or he'll begin memorizing scales. Huwa huma hum, hiya huma hunna, and the likes like this. Fa'ala fa'ala fa'alu, fa'alat fa'alata fa'alna. Like this, he'll be memorizing. The knowledge is memorized, and then he'll move on to the next sciences and the likes like this, memorizing the Quran. So the same way that he memorized Surah Al-Fatiha, or the same way that he memorized Qul Huwallahu Ahad, he'll memorize vocabulary words. He'll memorize principles. He'll memorize hadith. He'll memorize the knowledge in the same manner. He will repeat it over and over. First, he will make sure that what he has written is correct, and he will verify that. And he will memorize from the text that is proper. If he has written it himself, he will make sure that it's correct, and he'll memorize it one time, not 3 times or 4 times, any one time properly, the right way. So then he will repeat it over and over until he does not have to look at the paper anymore. And then he will say it to himself. And whatever he thinks he said it, he can say it to himself. He will move to the next line. And he'll continue like this, putting one and one together, one line next to the next line, and then until he has 3 lines. And then he'll go back and he'll say them all together. Until he can say them without looking. And now, whenever he thinks he has it, he will let somebody else hold the paper. Let me read it to you from my memory. And he will check. Somebody else who's qualified, they can read themselves. Preferably a teacher, or somebody who is his peer, or somebody who is stronger than him, or at least somebody who is able to read properly, and to verify that he read it right with the proper harakat and the likes like this. And then if he can do it in this manner, then inshallah it will be firm. So the one who does not do it like this and in this manner, and then read it to somebody from his memory, many times he will have many mistakes. Many mistakes. So the way to verify that is to say it from heart to somebody else, and to have them verify that for you. And in general, this is likewise the way to learn. The way to learn. Even if he goes over issues together, then he will review them by himself until he feels he understands them. and his friend, his companion who's seeking knowledge with him, he'll do the same thing alone. And then they'll meet together and they'll review these issues back and forth from their memory. And if they get stuck and neither one of them can help the other, remember the issues that they're studying, they'll look at their notes until both of them can say the issues that they're studying together fully from their memory. One of them can tell the other, and the other one can tell the other. At this time, he has learned. At this time, he has learned. So if a person, he looks and he reads and he understands and he thinks he has it, then let him put it down and put it in front of somebody else and tell them. If he gets stuck, if he begins stuttering, and now he can't express himself, he's not able to clarify. He mentioned that there's 3 points, he only remembered 2, or the likes like this, or this issue has four topics, and this one has, or 4 statements, and this one has like this. If he's able to memorize that and understand that, and he thinks that himself, then let him give it to somebody else, and then say that to them, and repeat that to them. In this manner, the knowledge will become firm, and then he will have that knowledge with him, and the knowledge that is learned in this manner, many times it will not go away, and it will stay. It will stay, and especially if he reviews it from time to time, especially if he reviews it from time to time. So this is an important point, and there will be no more discussion, inshallah, about the issue of memorizing. But some people today, maybe they have taken this affair lightly, and some of the people of knowledge have mentioned that Allah knows best. This is from the plots and the plots of the enemies of Islam to turn the Muslims away from memorizing, because the religion is preserved in this manner, and it's memorized and it's maintained in this manner, and it's carried in this manner, and it's taught in this manner, and generation after generation, it's memorized in the hearts of men. The carrying the knowledge of the deen of Allah, the carrying the knowledge of the deen of Allah. The foundation is that it's memorized, and it's taken from the mouth of the teacher, and it's memorized in the heart of the student, and then he gives it in the same manner like this until we have it today crisp and clean, and the proper creed and the proper belief, the creed of Ahl al-Hadith, and likewise the methodology. All of it is preserved in this manner, and the Quran is preserved in this manner, the Sunnah is preserved in this manner, the laws and the legislation and the halal and the haram and the qawa'id is preserved in this manner. Likewise, it's written in books as well, but this is from the way, rather this is from the first way, fi sudur. So to be concerned with memorizing, we will see especially in a young age, More will come about this, insha'Allah ta'ala. So the point is now to have it in our minds, the importance of memorizing, especially if you're young. And you have that ability and you're freed up. This is the time to take advantage of. So now he says, rahimahullah ta'ala, وَإِذَا جَفَاهُ الْأُسْتَاذُ رَجَعَ إِلَيْهِ بِالْاعْتِذَارِ وَأَظْهَرَ نَدَمَهُ وَخَطَأَهُ فَذَلِكَ أَنْفَعُ لَهُ دِينًا وَدُنْيَا وَأَبْقَى لِقَلْبِهِ. He says now that if his teacher is rude with him or stern with him and the likes like this, then he will come and he will apologize. He will apologize to the teacher, and he will clarify that he had regretted that and that he had made a mistake, and this is more beneficial and better for him in his religion, and likewise in his worldly affair, and more lasting for his heart, meaning the heart of his teacher, and that the relationship between him and his teacher. And the people of knowledge, they say, al-ilmu rahimun bayna ahlihi. Al-ilmu rahimun bayna ahlihi. Ar-rahim is the womb, and it's the ties. And so the person, he has his arham, and arham is literally the womb. But what is intended here, the ties of relatives and kinship. And that's the literal meaning. Ulul arham, meaning those who are relatives and they have a tie of kinship. But the people of knowledge, they mention that knowledge is similar. The knowledge is similar like this. There's a relationship and there's a connection. There's a connection and a relationship between its people. Al-ilmu rahimun bayna ahlihi. That the knowledge is like a womb between its people, meaning that they're all tied together by way of this knowledge. The people of knowledge and the students of knowledge, they have a relationship. Even some of the people of knowledge have mentioned that the teachers to the students, they're like the fathers to the children. And even that this type of fatherhood here is more virtuous and greater than the fatherhood, that is by way of lineage. And this is because the father by way of lineage, al-ubuwa al-tiniyya, in general, this is going to be with regards to the cultivation of the body. As for al-ubuwa al-diniyya, the religious fatherhood, then this is by way of cultivating the soul. So the people of knowledge, they are the ones cultivating the souls of the people and of the students, and caring for that and helping them rectify that and purify that and be upright and steadfast upon that. So this one here has more rights. So in any case, this is, as they say, a two-way street. And this is something that goes both ways. So the teacher, likewise, he must realize this affair. So the teacher as well, he has to be patient with the bad manners of the student. But here we're talking about the issue of the student. He should be patient with the bad manners of the teacher. Patient with the bad manners of the teacher. And if it's his fault, then he will realize that. And he will excuse himself. And he will mention the excuse that he has if he has one. And if not, he will apologize. And if not, he will apologize. Sometimes maybe the student who will do something that's not proper, or he will say something that's not correct, or he'll act in a manner that's not praiseworthy in the class or outside of the class, dealing with his teacher. So if this occurred and it was known from the teacher that he disliked that, then he will apologize in order to keep this relationship good between the two of them. يعني لأنه أبقى لقلبه يعني for both of them. For both of them. The people of knowledge, they mention likewise that the teacher, he's like a doctor. He's like a doctor. And just as you will not be rude to a doctor, you also should not be rude to the teacher. And if you're rude to the doctor, maybe you will not get the proper treatment that you need. And if you're rude to the teacher, then likewise you may not get the proper attention that you need. So the people of knowledge, they mention the likes of this. And they say, إن المعلم والطبيب كلاهما لا ينصحان إذا هما لم يكرما فاصبر لدائك إن جفوت طبيبه واصبر لجهلك إن جفوت معلمه. And جفوت معلمه. He said, the poet, he says that the teacher and the doctor, both of them, they will not give the sincere advice unless they are respected and honored. And you should be patient and deal with your disease or your sickness if you're rude to a doctor. And likewise, you should be patient and deal with your ignorance if you're rude to the teacher. And meaning if you're rude to the doctor, he's not going to treat you in the manner that is needed. Maybe he will just give you a prescription and let you go, or tell you to go talk to another doctor, and the likes like this. So this is the case. And likewise, a teacher, if a person is rude to a teacher, then maybe the teacher, he will give him the answer that he was looking for, and that's it, and suffice with that, and then turn away from him. Or maybe he will not even answer him, and he will turn away from him. So the same way that a person who is sick and he needs the advice of the doctor and the prescription from the doctor, if he's rude to him, the doctor will not help him. And he will remain dealing by himself with his own sickness or his disease. Or he'll have to go to another doctor. And likewise, dealing with a teacher. If a person is rude to the teacher, he himself is ignorant. And he will remain ignorant, and he will deal with his ignorance by himself, because that teacher is not going to educate him and to benefit him. So this is an important point. And then after this he says, وَقَدْ قَالُوا, and the people of knowledge, they have said, مَنْ لَمْ يَصْبِرْ عَلَى الظُّلِّ التَّعَلُّمِ بَقِيَ دَهْرَهُ فِي عِمَايَةِ الْجَهْلِ. That whoever is not patient upon the humiliation found, or the humiliation of the humbleness that must be found in learning, then he will remain his whole life in the blindness of ignorance, and he will remain his whole life in the darkness of ignorance. So to learn, a person, he has to humble himself, and he has to truly humble himself and admit to himself and to others that he does not know, and that he will come and sit in front of somebody that does. So he will humble himself before that person, and this is the case. And the one who does not humble himself, he will never learn. And this is the meaning of the one who وَلَا يَتَعَلَّمُ مُسْتَكْبِرٌ. The mustakbir, from the statement of Mujahid that had preceded, rahimahullah, that the one who's arrogant, he will not learn, because his pride and arrogance will prohibit him from sitting down in front of somebody. His pride and arrogance will prohibit him from sitting down in front of somebody to learn from him. So the person, he has to be humble. But the statement here is that the one who is not patient upon this humbleness and learning, that he will lower himself in this manner, then he will remain his whole life in the darkness of ignorance. Likewise, after this statement here in the Al-Majmu'ah, and Nawawi, he says, rahimahullah, وَمَنْ صَبَرَ عَلَيْهِ عَالَ أَمْرُهُ إِلَى الْعِزِّ فِي الْآخِرَةِ وَالدُّنْيَا. عَالَ أَمْرُهُ وَمَنْ صَبَرَ عَلَيْهِ يعني آل التعلم آل أمره إلى عز الآخرة والدنيا. So the statement completely in Al-Majmu' he says, and whoever, and some of the people of knowledge, they say, and whoever is not patient and the humbleness and the belittlement that will occur with the humbleness of learning, then he will remain his whole life in the darkness of ignorance, and in the darkness of ignorance. And whoever is patient upon that humbleness and going through that hardship and going through that difficulty, then his affair will come about in the end that he will have the might and the honor and respect of of the hereafter and this life. ومنه الأثر المشهور عن ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما. And likewise, from that is the famous narration of Ibn Abbas رضي الله عنهما that he said, ذُلِلْتُ طَالِبًا فَعُزِّزْتُ مَطْلُوبًا. Ibn Abbas, he said, رضي الله عنه, ذُلِلْتُ طَالِبًا فَعُزِّزْتُ مَطْلُوبًا. He said, I humbled myself as a seeker of knowledge, and therefore I was honored and had great respect later, after that. Meaning, whenever he was seeking knowledge, he humbled himself until the extent that the people, they began to seek after him. Until the extent that the people, they began to seek after him. Meaning they realized his honor and his status and his rank. And it's mentioned about him that after the death of the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said to one of the individuals from the Ansar, he was like, come on, let's go to this neighborhood of the Ansar and seek knowledge and learn the narrations from them. And that particular person, he told him, he said, why would we do that whenever all these companions here, all of these great companions here are around? And you think that people are going to be in need of you? So he left that affair, and Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, at a young age, he advanced upon that. So he went and sought knowledge. And then it was later on, after that man, he saw him whenever all of the people were gathered around him, and he saw Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma whenever all of the people were gathered around him, and a number of the companions, they had died off, and the people were in need of him. And they realized his great status and his great wisdom, and likewise he realized his mistake, and the fact that Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, he advanced upon that affair and he turned away from it. And in the end, the outcome, the praiseworthy outcome and the honor and respect was for him because of his dedication to this affair. So this is something likewise that a believer, he will realize that to seek knowledge is a means of success and a means of honor. يَرْفَعِ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنْكُمْ وَالَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْعِلْمَ دَرَجَاتٍ. That Allah, He raises the ranks. He raises the ranks of the believers from amongst you and those who have been given knowledge. And so those who have been given knowledge, they have a higher rank than from amongst the believers. The believers, they have the highest rank from mankind, and from the believers, those who have the highest ranks are the people of knowledge. So a person, he will humble himself in seeking knowledge, and he will go through that, and he will bear that burden. And maybe his teacher will be rude to him, and he will bear that. And if it's proper and in the limits, we're not talking now about the wicked or the foul so-called teachers who misuse or they use and the likes like this to students like slaves for their service and the likes like this. No, a teacher who generally is beneficial, but then maybe sometime he had a bad manner and the likes like this. This is what he'll be patient in dealing with that. He'll be patient and dealing with that. And no matter how much knowledge the student gets, he will always realize the virtue of his teachers. No matter how much knowledge a student gets, he will always realize the virtue of his teachers. And he will not be hasty to judge against his teachers. And so long as he knows that the foundation is there, that they're from the people of the Sunnah. And the teachers that are from the people of the Sunnah. But sometimes maybe we find for the likes of us in this land, that we learn about Islam, or we start studying the religion, or we start learning about the Sunnah and the scholars of the Sunnah, and then we realize that people in our community are not upon that way. So this here, a person, if he realized, for example, he was studying the Quran with somebody, and come to find out, this person, he's a student, he did not know. And then he started learning about the deviations of Jamaat al-Tabligh, for example. Or he started learning about Ikhwan Muslimun, for example. He was unaware of this knowledge. He started learning about Al-Salafy. He was unaware of that knowledge. And then he realized that his teacher was Ikhwani. Or he realized that the masjid he's attending was Tablighi. He didn't know that before. He didn't have that knowledge. He would not make an excuse for these individuals. Innovators and people upon partisanship and the likes like this, there's no excuse for them. Rather, he will thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for showing him who these individuals are, and he will leave them and find another teacher. He will leave them and find another teacher. He will not seek knowledge at the hands of the Ikhwan Muslimun. He will not seek knowledge at the hands of the Khawarij, at the hands of Jamaat al-Tabligh, at the hands of the Sufiya. He will not seek knowledge at the hands of except for anyone, at the hands of anyone except for the people of the Sunnah, the people who of the Sunnah, and they're known for that. And they're truly people of the Sunnah, and the Sunnah is seen from them and their manners and their creed and in their conduct and their speech and their deed. So if this is the case, now this is what he's discussing here. This is what he's discussing here. And this is what we intend here likewise, that he will be patient with his teacher. And even sometimes we will find that sometimes the students, they themselves, they will strive, and Allah will raise them until they become more knowledgeable than their teachers. And this is something that has occurred in recent history, and this is something that was known about Hafidh al-Hakami, rahimahullah ta'ala, that he was the student of Abdullah al-Qara'awi. He was a young boy, before puberty, a ghulam, whenever he first met him. And he's seen the Sheikh Abdullah al-Qara'awi, rahimahullah, seen the special quality of Hafidh, and how he was strong, and he could memorize, and how also he was diligent, and he had great raghbah and desire to learn, and whatever he gave him, he memorized it, and whatever he gave him, he took it and benefited from it immediately, and the likes like this, until the extent that he studied with him and studied with him and studied with him, until it's mentioned that Abdullah al-Qara'awi, he admitted now that this is my sheikh. And at the end of his life, he admitted, this is my sheikh, like this. And this requires humbleness. This requires humbleness. And for a person to be sincere and to realize now this person that in the beginning I was benefiting him and helping him, now he's more knowledgeable than me. Now he's more knowledgeable than me. He has more understanding than me. And this person, then what he will do, he would confess that. And the likes like this. But even at the same time, that's always going to be his sheikh. That's always going to be his sheikh. He's going to respect that and honor that. So the point is now that no matter how much a student learns, or how much benefit he obtains and the likes like this, or how much he memorizes, he will always respect his teacher. He will always respect his teacher, and he will never disregard him or disrespect him or belittle him and the likes like this. And again, the teachers of the people of the Sunnah, the teacher of the people of the Sunnah. This is something general that we should understand, that the youth, they honor the elders, and the elders, they respect the youth. The youth, they honor the elders, and the elders, they respect the youth. They respect the youth. And the people of knowledge, some of them, they would say that the youth, he will look at the elder and he will compare him to himself, and he will say, this man, how old is he? He's grown. His hair is become gray, and praying 5 times a day. And fasting, how many Ramadans has he fasted? How many Ramadans has he fasted? How many Jumu'ahs did he attend? How much charity has he performed? All these years, he reached 50 years old, 40, 50, 60 years old. How many times has he fasted Ramadan? And he would look like this. He has so many more good deeds than him. And here he's 15 years old. He has twice as many Ramadans than him. Like this, he will look at this like this, and he will see the virtue for his elder. He will see the virtue for his elder. And then likewise, the elder, he will look at the youth, and he will see that he is fresh, and that he is himself has spent many years in sins and disobedience and shortcomings. And as for this young man, he's fresh and safer and more free from sin than him, and the likes like this. So they look like this. And the Prophet ﷺ, he referred to this in an authentic narration. لَيْسَ مِنَّا مَنْ لَمْ يَرْحَمْ صَغِيرَنَا وَيُوَقِّرْ كَبِيرَنَا وَيَعْلَمْ لِعَلِمَنَا حَقَّهُ. He's not from us, and he's not upright upon the right way. The one who does not show mercy to our youth, and also honor and respect our elders, and know the right of our scholar, the right of our scholar. So the people of knowledge and the teachers, they should be honored, and the student, he should never belittle or disregard or disrespect his teacher. Disrespect his teacher. And this is considered to be a lowly way in reality. And the people of knowledge, they have poetry about the likes of this likewise. And one of them, they will say, فَيَا عَجِبًا لِمَنْ رَبَّيْتُهُ طِفْلًا أُلَقِيمُهُ بِأَطْرَافِ الْبَنَانِ وعلمه الرماية كل يوم فلما استد سعيده رماني وكم علمته نظم القوافي فلما قال قافيه هجاني أعلمه الفتوة كل يوم فلما ضر شاربه جفاني. So this is something that Yani we should realize. And from the noble traits of the righteous and the upright and good believers is that لا ينسون الفضل فيما بينهم. They do not forget the virtue that one has over the other. ولا تنسوا الفضل بينكم. Allah, He says, and do not forget the virtue that one of you has over the other. So from the greatest virtue that one could have over another is that he will be the means that he'll be the means by the permission of Allah to guide him to the correct path, to show him the sunnah of the Prophet, to direct him to Salafiyya, to clarify him the haqq from the batil, to be the means to cultivate his soul, to leave off desires and whims, and to go straight upon the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is from the greatest blessing and the greatest bounty that somebody will be guided to a person like this, that would help him and be patient with him and guide him and direct him and advise him until he's able to rectify his soul. And for a person to neglect that or to deny that or to forget that, this is a foul way. And this is similar like a father or a mother who raises their child and takes care of them their whole life until they grow up and they're able to talk, and then they talk back to their parents and raise their voice at their parents. Their whole life, they can't even speak or anything like this. The parent is raising him and cultivating him and taking care of him and keeping him safe and providing for him and nourishing him all the way till he's able to speak. Now he curses at his father or his mother, or he talks bad to them, or he yells at them. What do you want? Like this, I'm busy, and all this time. And even worse than that, that in reality, Allah, He is the Rabb, and He is the one who's raising them until a person is able to speak, and then he will say words that are displeasing to Allah Azza wa Jal, first and foremost. So this is something that is mentioned here. فَيَا أَجَبًا لِمَنْ رَبَيْتُهُ طِفْلًا أُلَقِيمُهُ بِأَطْرَافِ الْبَنَانِ. He said, how amazing is this individual. I raised him since he was a child. I raised him up ever since he was a child, and I put the food in his mouth with the tips of my fingers. And this is similar like a teacher likewise. He's dealing with the ignorance of the student, and he's teaching him and educating him and building him up in the same manner, feeding him the knowledge with his hands like this, little by little. Alif, ba, ta, tha, a, I, u, ba, bi, bu. Going through it with him like this, all the way to the next stage. Dhahaba, yadhabu, idhab, dhahaban. And then to the next stage, bab this, bab that. Then going to the kitab al-tahara, kitab al-salah, going through aqidah, back and forth like this, the different types of tawheed, clarifying this for the student. Maybe he misunderstood, maybe he had a misconception. He will remove that for him. He will clarify the falsehood of that, and he will show the truth to him. So it's similar like this, like he's feeding him the knowledge little by little. He's cultivating him. And this is the true way of a teacher, the Rabbani, al-alim al-Rabbani, or al-muallim al-Rabbani. Cultivating like this, like a parent is cultivating the child. So he says, وَعَلِّمُهُ الرِّمَايَةَ كُلِّ يَوْمٍ فَلَمَّا اسْتَدَّ سَعِيدُهُ رَمَانِ. He said, I teach him archery every single day, and whenever he gets sharp and strong enough with his forearm to hold the arrow, he shoots me. He shoots me. This is an example. Somebody who spends his every single day teaching an individual how to shoot arrows. And finally, whenever he gets good at it, he shoots him. This is like a child. This whole life he's raising him and teaching, and then whenever he gets old, he yells at his father or belittled his mother. And the likes like this. Or the same thing with the teacher. The teacher is teaching him and helping him and guiding him and directing him, and then whenever he gets his feet on the straight path, he belittles him like he's nothing. So this is the same example. And how many times did I teach him how to arrange the Arabic poetry, and whenever he learned how to do that, he made poetry and talked bad about me. He talked bad about me. I teach him how to be a strong, courageous, and a noble young man. And as soon as his mustache gets long, then he starts to be rude and harsh to me. Allah musta'an. So the student, he will not forget the virtue of his teacher. And the believer in general, he will not forget the virtue of those who have virtues over him. And this is what Allah, He has ordered like us. وَلَا تَنْسَوْا الْفَضْلَ بَيْنَكُمْ. Do not forget the virtue that one of you has over the other. And this is something that's very important. It's from the noble manners, the manners of those people who have honor and dignity. And they have a high status, and a high status in they have a high and a strong religion. As for the low lives, from the traits of the low lives is that they will forget the virtue of others, and they will neglect that and deny that. And somebody will help them, and they will deny that. Somebody will feed them and take care of them, and then they will call them stingy. Or somebody will help them, teach them, and cultivate them, and then they will belittle them and forget that. This is from the lowly traits of the la'im, the low life. As for the kareem, the one who's noble, then he's somebody who remembers the virtue that others have over him, and he does not forget that, even if maybe he reaches a level above them someday. Even if maybe he reaches a level above them someday, yani in general. So this is something that is very important. Likewise, with regards to the student and his teacher, he will not hasten to declare him to be wrong. Many times a person, he will hear something, but because of a lack of knowledge or a deficiency in knowledge, he will believe that it's wrong or incorrect, and then he will look down upon it, the teacher, for example, and the likes like this. And in reality, the deficiency is in his understanding and not in the statement or the position or the issue that the teacher is discussing. So sometimes a person, because of limited knowledge, then he will not understand, or he will misunderstand, or he will not completely comprehend, and then maybe he will think that the teacher fell into error or made a mistake, or even if he said something contrary than what the student knows, he will not be hasty. He will not be hasty to say, oh, the teacher made a mistake, or the teacher is wrong, and the likes like this. And many times this will go back to the understanding. Or maybe there is another a way or aspect to understand it, where the teacher, maybe he's working with another narration, or has a different fatwa, or he has more light in the particular issue. And if you understand it, yani, the way that he sees it, then you would see correctly, and you would not consider it a mistake. So sometimes somebody may consider something wrong, and what is wrong is their understanding. This is the point. Sometimes somebody may consider or think that something is wrong, or somebody made a mistake, or they opposed the sunnah, for example, and the likes like this. But in reality, what is wrong is their understanding, and the error is in their comprehension, and the deficiency in the knowledge and the light that they have. So knowledge is light, and the more one has, the further one can see. And if the light is deficient, he will not be able to see that far. So maybe he will think something is up there and it's not there. Or maybe he will misperceive or misunderstand, and the likes like this. But the one who has more knowledge, he will be able to see further. And he'll be able to understand more and comprehend any more details. And also he'll be able to see clearer. So the people of knowledge, they say about the likes of this, وَكَمْ مِنْ عَائِبٍ قَوْلٍ صَحِيحًا وَأَفَتُهُ فِي الْفَحْمِ السَّقِيمِ. How many people are finding fault with the correct statement, and the error or the mistake is in the foul understanding, is in the foul or in the sick understanding. So this is something likewise that a person, he will not hasten to make judgments. Rather, he will think and reflect first. If he did not understand and it seemed to be in opposition to something that he knew, then he will seek knowledge of that, and he will ask about that, and he will do that in a noble manner, from his teacher, and he will mention that, as we have seen before, he will approach that in a good way, and he mentioning that what he knew was contrary to that, and he wants to understand the position that he made, and the likes like this, as a means of learning, not as a means of finding fault with him, or saying, oh, you said this and Sheikh so-and-so said that, like we've seen before. This is all from the lowly manners. But he could say, for example, I heard you mention this in class, and actually what I'm familiar with is the fatwa of Sheikh so-and-so, or that the ruling is this, and we discuss this in a bit of detail so I can understand. And then they will discuss the issue in this manner. Even maybe sometimes the teacher himself, he will realize that what the student is mentioning is correct or more proper. And this is not something strange. Rather, this is something that even happened with Imam Malik, rahimahullah ta'ala. He died in the year 179. One of his great students, Abdullah ibn Wahab al-Misri, rahimahullah ta'ala, he died in the year 197. You changed the number around, huh? 179? The Shaykh, 197. The Abdullah ibn Wahab, he is listening to the fatwa that Imam Malik is giving, rahimahullah ta'ala, about making the taqleel in the asabi'. Making the taqleel and the asabi' when you make wudu, and the likes like this. And he mentioned that he did not know any sunnah with regards to that. So he mentioned it's not legislated. And after everybody left, Ibn Wahabi went to him, and he mentioned to him that he heard this affair, and that he's aware of a sunnah from the Prophet ﷺ, and he mentioned the narration with the chain. And then he mentioned that Imam Malik, he heard that and accepted that. And he mentioned later that he heard Imam Malik, rahimahullah, giving the fatwa now in a gathering, of the new position. And so meaning the student brought him knowledge he did not know. So this all comes from the benefit of having noble manners, of having noble manners. So this could happen likewise. And the teacher, the student, maybe he will inform the teacher and benefit him. Or at least then the issue will become clear. The issue will become clear. So the point now is to not hasten to judge. Not hasten to judge. Especially in the issues of al-masail al-fiqhiyya, the issues in fiqh. There may be one person, he's only aware of the position of Shaykh al-Albani, for example, on a particular issue. But if he were to study further, there are also going to be a position of another scholar and another scholar and another scholar alive today, or in our era, or the scholars before that, they differed, and the likes like this. So the one who has the knowledge of this affair, he would have more light and detail. So he will not think that everything that's contrary to what he learned, especially if he's just learning, is wrong, and find fault with the teacher. So this is from ignorance. And the people of knowledge, they say, "Man jahila shay'an ankarahu wa adahu." Ankarahu wa adahu. The person who's ignorant about something, he will belie it, he deny it, and he will have enmity towards it. Sometimes this is the case. A person, he's the enemy of what he's ignorant of. So it's very blameworthy to be ignorant of the truth and then take the truth as an enemy. And this is what happens sometimes. Sometimes people, they take enmity towards others and the likes like this because they only heard one position, or they only heard one statement, or they listened to one aspect of a particular thing, and then they believe that's the truth, and they believe that that's it, and it's black and white, and anybody who opposes it, he's misguided, and the likes like this, and that's not the case. So he'll take that issue or that person as an enemy, and he will dislike that, or he will reprimand that, or he will belie that, or he will deny that, and in reality he's wind up in the end denying the truth. And this is because of the darkness of ignorance. It's been narrated from Khalil ibn Ahmed rahimahullah ta'ala. He says, "لو كنت تعلم ما أقول عذرتني أو كنت تعلم ما تقول أذلتك لكن جهلت مقالتي فعذلتني وعلمت أنك جاهل فعذرتك." He said rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, "لو كنت تعلم ما أقول عذرتني." He said, if you know what I'm saying, if you truly understood what I'm saying, then you would excuse me. Or said, "Oh, كنت تعلم ما تقول عذلتك." He said, or if you knew that what you were saying, then I would blame you. Meaning he don't even know what he's saying. He don't know what's being said to him, and he don't know what he's saying himself. He said, وَلَكِنْ جَهِلْتَ مَقَالَتِي فَعَذَلْتَنِي. But rather you misunderstood my statement, so you blame me. وَعَلِمْتُ أَنَّكَ جَاهِلٌ فَعَذَرْتُكَ. And I knew that you're ignorant, so I excused you. هذا وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.